Thank you. Just in terms of natural justice, I do think I should have been shown a copy of these pink papers. I obviously can't talk to them because I haven't seen them, but I do think it's important if councillors have a document which may contain things I disagree with and I'm about to discuss it, that I should be able to see it to make sure there's nothing in it that I think is an error. That way I can actually speak to it and say X, Y or Z did or didn't happen. So I hope you will defer this item until I've actually had a chance to read the papers and make representations to the committee members. I think otherwise it would go against natural justice. We are also trying to get less complaints and have a less hostile environment. And I think holding these things in this way is not as useful as it could be. I also made the point that I do not even know who made this complaint because that has been withheld from me as well, even though the form said I should be told. So I'm not happy about this. It's not a productive use of our time, and it violates my human rights to have you talking about stuff which I, particularly with people in this room who have made complaints against me, that I cannot even see what they're talking about. So I do ask you think about deferring this item.
Have you not commented on the complaint in Councillor Condell?
This particular one, I have not had the opportunity to read the pink papers.
I never said read. You were asked for your comments, I believe.
I don't know how they've been printed in the pink paper. This is the problem. I don't know what has gone. One thing I did say is I did want to have meetings to make sure this situation didn't happen again. I don't know if that's reflected in the pink papers. I don't know if what the independent person, I was told the independent person made a comment, but from what the independent, I'm trying not to say what I know, not to prejudice things, but I am not happy that actually the incidents that happened have been correctly transcribed to the independent person, because the independent person seems to have a view that's contrary to what happened. So I said I'd like this deferred and actually have a discussion over what's in the pink papers.
I, as you're aware, Councillor Condell, as with other people in this meeting, are well aware of the process for these complaints, and I have no intention of deferring it at this stage. Thank you for your comments. Councillor Evans.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. With regards to the recommendation about excluding the public and press, is the director possibly, I know this is sensitive and you can't go into it too much, but are you able to give the reason?
We haven't yet voted on the exclusion.
Yes, I think. I think that's what.
Okay.
Are you able to give a reason why this recommendation has been put? Because
no, we can't discuss that because we haven't yet agreed that we're going into private session, so we can't discuss anything that's in the pink papers.
I think, Chair, what the question isn't about the content of the report, it's just the rationale for considering it as an exempt item, which I can answer in public. And I think it's
most complaints are dealt with in exempt items,
well,
Mr. Richardson.
Well, that's part of the response that I was going to give, Chair, that it's because of the nature of the complaints, the complainants, we would at this point in time deal with these matters as an exempt item. We don't know yet, and it's a matter for the panel to decide whether it wants to take the matter forward or whether it wants to deal with it in some other way. So at this point in time, it preserves a level of equality between the councillor and the complainant. If we were to do this any other way, then of course you'd be putting it into the public domain, because this would then become a public document, and then obviously if you decide you do want it to go to hearing, it'll be trial by media rather than through the normal council process.
Right, I intend to take the vote as to the item 14, exclusion of the public and press. All those in favour?
Oh, sorry, you can't vote, can't you?
Yeah,
So, yes.
Those against?
Abstention.
Abstentions? Right, so the item will be held in private session.
So, Chair, Councillor Conduct will now have to leave the room.
Yes, we will have to leave, Councillor.